The deep space research vessel Harmony of Stars drifted silently through the outer reaches of the nebula. Commander stood at the observation deck, her four delicate arms folded behind her back as she watched the swirling purple gases dance outside the reinforced viewing port. She belonged to the species, a race of tall, graceful beings with pale blue skin and large silver eyes that had evolved on a peaceful garden world where the most dangerous predator was no larger than a small domestic pet. Her crew of 12 represented 5 different species from the Galactic Federation, all of them experienced explorers who had mapped hundreds of star systems together. They had seen many strange things in their travels, but nothing could have prepared them for what their sensors detected that morning. "Commander, I am picking up an unusual signal," announced the ship's sensor operator. He was a small amphibian species known for their exceptional hearing and attention to detail. His webbed fingers moved quickly across the holographic control panel. "There is a large object approximately 40,000 kilometers ahead. It appears to be a vessel of some kind." Turned from the window and walked toward the main console. "Can you identify its origin? Is it from any known Federation species?" Shook his head slowly, his large eyes blinking with confusion. "No, Commander. The design does not match anything in our database. However, the construction materials are extremely unusual. The hull appears to be made from reinforced titanium alloys mixed with carbon composites. This combination is typically associated with vessels designed for extremely hostile environments." The ship's science officer, a tall named Chitter, moved closer to examine the readings. His compound eyes processed the data faster than any other crew member could. "Commander, these readings cannot be correct. According to my analysis, this vessel was designed to withstand radiation levels that would instantly kill any known Federation species. The life support systems appear to be calibrated for an atmospheric composition that would be toxic to most sentient beings." Felt a chill run down her spine. In her 30 years of exploration, she had learned to trust her instincts, and right now those instincts were screaming at her to turn the ship around and flee. But curiosity was a powerful force, and the potential scientific discovery was too significant to ignore. "Take us closer," she ordered, "but maintain maximum shields and keep weapons on standby." The Harmony of Stars moved cautiously toward the mysterious vessel. As they approached, the true scale of the ship became apparent on there. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of their own research vessel. The design was angular and aggressive, with sharp edges and reinforced plating that spoke of a species that expected to face danger at every turn. "I am detecting writing on the hull," announced, his voice trembling slightly. "Translating now." The universal translator hummed as it processed the strange symbols. When the translation appeared on the main screen, every crew member fell silent. The name of the vessel was displayed in bright red letters against the dark hull. "USS Pioneer, Earth vessel, United Nations Space Agency." Earth whispered, "That cannot be possible." Chitter's antennae twitched nervously. "Commander, Earth is classified as a Class III in the Federation database. No species from such a world has ever achieved space travel. The conditions there are far too hostile for the development of advanced civilization." The Federation had millions of planets across the galaxy, rating them on a scale from Class I garden worlds to Class V extinction zones. Class III were planets where survival was considered nearly impossible. They featured extreme weather, dangerous predators, toxic environments, and countless other hazards that made them unsuitable for colonization or even short-term visits. Earth had earned its Class III rating through a combination of factors that horrified Federation scientists. The planet experienced violent atmospheric disturbances called hurricanes and tornadoes. It had active geological processes that caused devastating earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The star it orbited bombarded the surface with harmful radiation. The local wildlife included apex predators with claws, fangs, and venomous bites. Even the microscopic life forms on Earth were deadly, capable of causing diseases that could kill within days. No Federation species had ever considered making contact with Earth. The general assumption was that any life forms that evolved there would be primitive savages, too focused on basic survival to develop technology or culture. The idea that such beings could build a starship was unthinkable. Yet here it was, floating before them in the darkness of space. "Commander, I am detecting life signs aboard the vessel," said, his voice barely above a whisper. "One individual. They appear to be in some kind of suspended animation chamber. Made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Prepare a boarding party. We need to investigate this vessel and make contact with its occupant." The boarding party consisted of Chitter and two security officers from the species, large armored beings who served as the Federation's primary peacekeepers. They wore full environmental suits as they crossed the void between ships and entered the Pioneer through an airlock on its starboard side. The interior of the human vessel was dark and cold. Emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow over the corridors. The walls were covered with pipes, cables, and mechanical components that seemed primitive compared to Federation technology, yet somehow more robust and reliable. "The atmosphere in here is breathable for most Federation species," Chitter reported, scanning with his portable analyzer. "Oxygen-nitrogen mixture with trace amounts of carbon dioxide. The temperature is quite cold, approximately 15 degrees on the standard scale." They moved deeper into the ship, passing through compartments filled with strange equipment. One room contained racks of weapons that made the security officers visibly uncomfortable. Another held supplies of preserved food and water that would last a single occupant for years. Finally, they reached the medical bay where the life signs had been detected. In the center of the room stood a large cylindrical chamber made of transparent material. Inside, suspended in a pale blue liquid, floated the first human any of them had ever seen. The creature was smaller than had expected, standing perhaps 6 feet tall based on its proportions. It had 2 arms and 2 legs, smooth skin in a shade of brown, and a face with 2 forward-facing eyes. Those eyes were closed in sleep, but even in rest, there was something unsettling about the being's features. It looked like a predator. "Analysis indicates the occupant has been in suspended animation for approximately 200 Earth years," Chitter said. "Their physiology is remarkable. Dense bone structure, powerful musculature, and a cardiovascular system capable of sustained high-intensity activity. This being was designed by evolution to be a persistence hunter." Studied the sleeping human with a mixture of fear and fascination. "Can we wake them?" "The revival process appears to be automated. I can activate it from this console." After a long moment of hesitation, nodded. "Do it." The chamber hummed to life. The blue liquid began to drain, and the human's vital signs started to change as their body emerged from its long sleep. Minutes passed in tense silence as the process completed. Then the human's eyes opened. They were dark brown, almost black, and they focused immediately on the 4 alien beings standing before them. There was no confusion in that gaze, no panic or fear, just calm assessment, like a predator evaluating potential threats. The chamber door slid open, and the humans stepped out. They moved with a fluid grace that belied their muscular frame, every motion efficient and controlled. They were naked except for a thin membrane that had protected their skin during suspension, and the aliens could see the scars that covered their body, evidence of injuries that would have killed any Federation species. The human spoke, their voice rough from 2 centuries of disuse. The universal translator struggled for a moment before rendering their words into understandable speech. "Where am I? What happened to my ship?" Stepped forward, her diplomatic training taking over despite her fear. "You are in the nebula, approximately 30,000 light-years from your home system. Your ship appears to have drifted off course during your long sleep. I am commander of the Galactic Federation Research Vessel Harmony of Stars. We detected your ship and came to investigate. The human listened quietly, their expression unreadable. When finished, they looked around the medical bay, then back at the aliens. Galactic Federation, so there are other species out here. My mission was to find out if we were alone. I suppose I have my answer. Your mission? Chitter asked, unable to contain his scientific curiosity. You were sent alone to explore the galaxy. The human smiled, revealing rows of white teeth that made the guards reach for their weapons. Earth had limited resources for space exploration. We could not afford to send large crews on long-range missions, so they selected volunteers who could survive the journey alone, people who could handle isolation, danger, and the unknown. But the conditions you must have endured, said. The radiation exposure alone during your journey should have killed you many times over. The human shrugged, a gesture that seemed to dismiss centuries of accumulated damage. Humans are adaptable. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day. Compared to Earth, space is almost peaceful. Over the following hours, the human, who introduced themselves as Dr. Sarah, shared the story of humanity with the stunned Federation explorers. She told them about Earth's violent history, the countless wars and disasters that had shaped human civilization. She described the plagues that had killed millions and the natural catastrophes that had wiped out entire cities. She explained how humans had not only survived these challenges but had thrived because of them. The Federation crew learned that humans did not view their origins as a disadvantage. Instead, they saw it as their greatest strength. Every challenge they faced made them more resilient, more creative, more determined. They had tamed their planet's most dangerous predators. They had built shelters that could withstand earthquakes and storms. They had developed medicine to fight the deadliest diseases. And when they finally looked up at the stars, they brought all of that experience with them. We are coming, Doctor said, her eyes reflecting the distant light of a billion suns. Not to conquer or destroy, but to explore and learn. Humanity has always pushed beyond its limits, always reached for what seemed impossible. Now we have reached the stars, and nothing will stop us from seeing what lies beyond. Understood, then, why the Federation had never made contact with Earth. It was not because they believed humans were primitive or incapable. It was because they were afraid. The galaxy had known peace for thousands of years because no species was willing to risk conflict. But humans had been forged in conflict. They had survived by fighting, by adapting, by refusing to surrender no matter how impossible the odds seemed. The age of galactic peace was about to end, not through war, but through the arrival of a species that did not know the meaning of impossible. The Federation would have to learn to share the stars with humanity. And that terrified them more than anything else in the universe. Commander looked at the small human standing before her and realized that the galaxy would never be the same again. The species had arrived, and they were just getting started.